And now it is my pleasure to introduce our featured speaker. Mike Babcock is entering his 7th season as the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings. He guided the Wings to a Stanley Cup championship in 2008, led the Canadian hockey team to a gold medal during the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics. He also led Team Canada to an International Ice Hockey Federation World Championship gold medal in 2004, which together makes him the only head coach to be a member of the Triple Gold Club, a rare feat that acknowledges those who have won all 3 major hockey tournaments. He led the Red Wings to a 2nd consecutive Stanley Cup Finals appearance in 2009. He also guided the Anaheim Mighty Ducks to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2003 during his first season as an NHL head coach. Away from the rink, Mr. Babcock is involved with several charitable causes. Most notably, he serves as a spokesman for the Jeffrey Thomas Hayden Foundation, which was created to increase awareness about pediatric brain tumors and support affected families. He lives in Northville with his wife Maureen, and they have 3 children. He is here today to discuss how he contributes to the championship caliber environment of the Detroit Red Wings, his business management philosophy, and offer his thoughts on the upcoming 2011-2012 season. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, Mr. Mike Babcock.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here right close to my neighborhood. We were real fortunate when we arrived in Detroit and ended up situated in Northville. We make our life in Plymouth and Northville and Novi and Livonia right here, and it's been a great home for us. When you're a head coach in the National Hockey League and you move someplace, you anticipate if things go real well, you'll be there 3 years. We feel very fortunate to be starting our 7th year here, and it's really become our home, and it's great to be here to talk to you people today. So, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a thrill. When I arrive at these and then I hear what I'm going to talk about, often what I'm going to talk about and what has been said is different today, especially just because of what happened yesterday and the way I'm feeling. I'm going to go a little bit different direction. And so before I get started, I want to talk to you a little bit about Brad McCrimmon and Rusty Slay. There's 42 or 43 other gentlemen or families around the world that don't have dads or husbands today. But these are the 2 that I know. And, you know, if any message comes from any of these things, and you have things going on in your personal life, is that you got to hug your kids today. And as much as it's important for us, the economy be going good and our community be going good and my team be going good, the number one most important thing you can have going well is your family. And I know I got up this morning and I texted my daughter at Michigan. I get a little choked up. Just that, missing you and love you. And last night, I got up at 3 in the morning yesterday, and I came back. I was caribou hunting with my son, and when he had practice last night down at City Rink, I mean, there's no chance in the world that I was going to that. But I went to that. And the reason I went to that is because you don't know. And so I think that's the message for me today is it's about family and it's about kids. The other thing I wanted to do is when I was thinking about talking to you, I dug out off the wall in my office something Scotty Bowman gave me. And I'm going to read it to you. I never do this, but I thought I'd read it to you anyway. It's about attitude. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude, to me, is more important than facts. It's more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstance, than failures, than successes, than what other people think, say, or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day. I want to say that again. We have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitude. Scotty gave that to me, carries it in his wallet, and I think about that every day as the attitude I choose for every day, and the attitude that I bring to this function here today. You're going to leave with a thought on Coach Babcock or Mike Babcock. So it's very, very important. But what's more important is how I represent myself today. My kids are watching. And your kids have the ability to know who you are. It's not what you say, it's what you do, it's how you lead. And if you have the ability to get outside your own body, and I'm talking now as a business leader, as a husband, as a family man, as a wife, and actually take a look at you like your kids see you, sometimes it's not that pretty. And we can all change and grow and adjust. And no matter what the time is, we can evolve. And that, to me, is what it's all about. I'm just going to brag on the Red Wings for a second here. 20 straight years in the playoffs. Red Wing fans are lucky. 6 years since the lockout, there's 2 teams. 6 years since the NHL lockout, since they changed the financial spectrum. Just like financial times are tough, when they change things, you adjust. The Red Wings and San Jose have made the playoffs all 6 years. In the last 6 years since they changed everything and said it couldn't happen, Detroit could only do it because they spent more money than everybody else. We've won 304 games in 6 years. It's happened 3 times in history. In the 70s, Scotty Bowman in Montreal won 300 games in 6 years. Sather with Edmonton in the 80s did it. It'll never happen again. I'm telling you right now, it'll never happen again in the history of hockey, in the National Hockey League, that one team will win over 300 games in 6 years. That's us. That's the Detroit Red Wings. In the off-season, I warn the people at the table, if you ask me all the questions at the table, when I get up here to talk, you'll fall asleep because it'll be redundant. I'll have already told you everything, so don't ask so many questions. Anyway, one of the questions was who have you acquired? Well, in the off-season, we brought Conklin back. Conklin was a goaltender for us a few years ago. When Ozzy was hurt, he won us 25 games in the year that we ended up losing in the Stanley Cup final to Pittsburgh. So we've brought him back. Commodore is a big physical D-man we brought in. We're, as far as fisticuffs and cross-checking people, we're the softest team in the NHL, bar none. That's just the facts. That's the way we're built. That's the way it is. But what we are is we're as hard as anybody in the NHL between the whistles. But bringing in Commodore, I think, will keep the flies off for 84 games, which would be nice for 82 games. And then we brought in White, and he's a puck mover. Nick Lidstrom really believes that he plays the best with a right-handed shot. We haven't had that in a while. Just with Rafalski leaving, we brought in White, and hopefully that'll help us out there. We have 3 prospects that you can look for. I think the one guy in our organization that isn't a junior that has a chance to be a high-end player is the Smith kid. Whether he makes our team or not, I don't know, but he has a chance. And then we have Mersack and Emerton. I think if the scouts or the manager was up here, they'd list a whole long list of all these prospects we got. I'm a realist. I've seen them. This is what I'm telling you I think we have. But what we did, I think, in the off-season, when Brad McCrimmon was going to Russia and Paul McLean is now the head coach of the Ottawa Senators, that gave Mike Babcock an opportunity as how am I going to get better? At the same time that was going on, I was reading this book called Talent's Overrated. And it kept talking about how the wily old veterans were getting outdone by the young, enthusiastic people. And I said to myself, just imagine if you can be enthusiastic and you can bottle the experience you have and you can bring the same energy you did 10 or 15 years ago when you're fired up, you'd be pretty special. So how are you going to do that? Well, what Ken Holland and I decided to do is we went out and hired 2 guys who hadn't been in the National Hockey League. 2 guys who everywhere they went, they just won. 2 guys that were good teachers and knew how to talk to people and were fired up, had a ton of passion. Because I believe we needed a change as far as energy goes. And I believe that I have to get better just like you in running your business. If you're going to be successful, what you did last year is not good enough. And we've had a lot of success in Detroit, but I can tell you, I spent the summer scared to death. I'm not fearful of my job, but I'm fearful of not being great. And I'm not trying to be an egomaniac, I'm just trying to be honest with you. I'm scared to death to not be the best. I don't want it to ever go wrong on my watch. And as it gets thinner and thinner, and the difference between teams gets less and less, the coaches got to be better. That's the facts. So when I read out these names, and I don't wow anybody with the names we added, I want you to remember these two names, Jeff Blasio, he's a Michigan guy, and Bill Peters, because I think they're going to make a huge difference. And it's the grease. In your business, it's about doing it every day. It's about bringing it every day. It's about finding a new way before someone else does. And if you just do what everyone else does, you're not getting ahead. And if you did what you did last year, you're standing still. So you got to be evolving all the time. That's what we try to do. In 11-12, so that's this year, it's going to be the toughest Western Conference of all time. There's going to be 12 teams capable at the drop of the puck on day one of making the playoffs. Only 8 teams make it. So I know you people are sitting here and you say we put on the Red Wing uniform and we're original 6 in 20 years. That's not what I think about. I think about we better have one heck of a training camp and get off to a good start, and we better stay healthy. Just to kind of wrap up my part here, the other thing that has to happen for us this year is guys like Franson, Filipula, and Hudler that didn't have years to write home about last year have to have big-time years. And there's a kid named Helm and a kid named Abdicator that think the coach is the dumbest guy in hockey because he won't put him on the ice more. And they might be right. So this youthful group that we have arriving to replace Rafalski and Osgood and Draper and Mulpey the year before, ideally those guys have taught them enough lessons in the trenches that they can be significant or make a significant impact to our team this year so we can continue to be the organization you're all proud of. The thing that I'm most proud of when I say, my name is Mike Babcock, I'm the coach of the Detroit Red Wings, is how we go about our business, is how diligent we are, how I believe we're on the cutting edge of trying to get better all the time, how any idea is a good idea and we're willing to try anything, and that we believe that standing still is a death sentence. And understanding all that, to me, the leadership of Mr. Illich has allowed us to be what we are now. But I can tell you he's not too worried about what we did last year. He's kind of like me. He's more worried about what we're going to do this year. And I think that's the message to all of us in running our businesses anyway, is we have to be evolving and getting better. Just before I answer some questions, Rusty Slay had 3 young children, 5 and under at home. And they don't have a dad. And Liam goes to Catholic Central. He's 14 years old, and he had a love affair with his father, and he doesn't have a dad. And Carlin's at nursing school at Wayne State, and she doesn't have a dad. And Maureen doesn't have a husband. Beth Ann, Rusty's wife, doesn't have a husband today. I think we got to cherish all the moments that we're given. I think we all got to be thankful for what we have. And to me, when I got up today, I had an opportunity to choose my attitude. And that attitude affects the people that I come in contact with, whether I'm trying to affect them or not. Most importantly, my children. And I think all of us would like our kids to be proud of us. So tomorrow morning when you get up, choose your attitude right. Thank you very much.